tired eyes is something that a colorist always has to combat when he's color grading long format projects. And with this in mind, it's always a good idea to take constant breaks and always rest your eyes, go and look at things in a normal color balanced area. And this is something that you need to do frequently. What can happen with your eyes, if you're color grading in a situation too long, you can get into sort of a color drift situation. What happens in this scenario is that you're color grading and you think the colors look fine, but then when you look at them later, they look completely wrong. And it's because your brain goes into sort of a color drift. And with this in mind, you end up with what you think is correct, but when you look at it in the real world, the colors are completely off. To give you a little example, I had to color grade a whole series of cartoons of the Pink Panther. And I was color grading for hours and hours, and then you don't realize it, and you think, well, gee, things are going really well. And then afterwards, you go back and you take a dinner break or something like that, and you come back and look at your material, and you see that it is completely wrong. The character wasn't pink anymore. He was slightly off, the hue was off to a certain degree. And you could see that it was completely, the colors were wrong. So I had to go back and find the point where I started to drift in my color perception and then go through and correct from that point on and recorrect the sections of the project. Yes, when doing feature film mastering, it depends, the requirements for feature film mastering kind of varies from country to country. In the US, you find very often you're working with the director of the movie and sometimes with the director of photography. More often in Europe, when you're working on a picture, I found that I was always working with the director of photography, and then the director would only come in on the last days just for the final approval. And so it's always good to get that rapport with the director of photography, establish your look when you're getting started, and then it makes a very easy grading process. I always find that I don't overgrade my feature film grades very much. I always tend to give them a much more subtle grade because it's a movie. I don't want the color correction to be overpowering in any way. And so this is a thing that I always state when I'm doing a feature film grading. I don't want it to be overgraded. I just want it to be a subtle grade that's going to look nice and it's going to complement the film. This is important when you're grading a movie. When you're grading a TV show, the requirements are similar to feature film gradings, but there are some variations here. Now, for example, I've run into situations where you will do the main grading with the executives from the broadcaster will sit with you, and then this will take usually a long amount, quite a bit of time when you're doing the grading. And sometimes you will not have the executives from the broadcaster with you, but you'll usually have the editorial people from the production company. When this happens, it makes for a much easier situation when you're doing color grading. But as with feature film grading, I don't tend to overgrade the material too much. I tend to create my look and I stick with it and I keep it balanced throughout the entire project. And this is my usual rule of thumb when I'm working with this. When doing commercial grading, this is a totally different situation because you're going to create super specialized looks, and also the product that they are advertising also has to be the correct color. And also the other thing too is when you're doing commercial grading is you might come in and find that it's only a 30-second commercial, but they've booked like 5 hours for grading. And you think, oh, I couldn't possibly take that amount of time. And in fact, it's not untrue. It can take a lot longer than that in some occasions. So this is a thing to always remember, is that when you're doing commercial grading, it's far more meticulous grading because you want to make sure that the pack shot matches exactly, and you want to make sure that the look is consistent throughout this small length of time. So when you're doing a music videos are a totally different situation. Very often you're going to do highly extreme looks, very, very saturated colors, and sometimes you're going to do very specialized grading effects throughout. This is fine because this is what you see a lot of times on music videos when you view them on television. But you want to make sure that your looks are consistent throughout the music video and everything is balanced across. Sometimes the levels become so saturated, they go on the border of becoming illegal colors, colors that go beyond the range that the broadcaster will accept. When this situation comes across, then I usually enable the legal color limiting within Resolve. And in this way, I make sure that all my video levels are constrained within the confines that will be allowed by the broadcaster. So there we have it. For more information about training services, have a look in the comments below. Don't forget to have a look at the other videos on my YouTube channel for more tips and tricks. Think about subscribing, give us a thumbs up, and also please think about becoming a Patreon. There's a lot of great perks there. And I hope to see you soon. Thanks a lot.